Welcome into the latest episode of the 5 on the 4 podcast. I am Ethan Skolnick. I'm going to be joined by Alphonse Sidney. You can find him at Alf954. Make sure you check out 5reasonsports.com. That's got all kinds of new free Heat content, new columns from Nekias Duncan, Greg Sylvander, something going up from Zach Buckley in the next 24 hours as well. More free Heat content than anyone else. Also, check out the other podcasts in our network. Of course, that includes 5 Rings, Canes on the Miami Hurricanes, 3 Yards Per Carry, Light Skin Opinions, Ballscast, Fantasy on 5, Out for the Count, and Cinco Razones. And check out our YouTube channel. You can find our YouTube channel with a bunch of subscribers on there. A lot of people seem to like what we're doing. We post these podcasts, but also we post content from all over South Florida. But first, before we get to today's episode, I want to tell you about one of the great new sponsors of the 5 Reasons Sports Network. You were not here for this, Alf, the other day, and I know you wanted to join me for this. Who do you think our new sponsor is, Alf?
Is it Gold Club?
It's Gold Club. It's the new Gold Club.
All right.
It's Gold Club. It's the new Gold Club in Pompano Beach. Now, I would call it a gentleman's club, but that would only be half of the story. It's a gentleman's and ladies' club because women are free all the time. They're free all the time. So there's never a cover charge for women, but if they come on Saturdays, they can pay $10 for glass at the door, and it's $5 you call it all night long. They're open 11 to 2 a.m. every single day. Again, this is in Pompano Beach. And here's the thing about this, Alf. We're going to be there. That's right. We have an excuse to go. December 4th, Heat at Celtics. We have a watch party. Who do you think everybody's going to be watching? Us on stage, podcasting, or the game, or I don't know, something else possibly?
Yeah, I think something else. I'm not going to be watching us.
Well,
I'm going to watch the game. But
that's
but during commercial breaks, I'm going to be preoccupied. I'm going to be honest with you.
Yeah, he'll be preoccupied on stats.nba.com, checking out stats because you know Alf is an analytics guy and nothing can distract him from that. Anyway, it's the new Gold Club.
Stats.
You love stats. It's the new Gold Club in Pompano Beach. You'll be hearing a lot about them from us because we can both do that these days. Anyway, now today's episode.
Welcome to 5 on the Floor, a Miami Heat and NBA podcast from Ethan Skolnick with Alphonse Sidney, a.k.a. Alf954. Brought to you by the 5 Reasons Sports Network.
All right, back here on 5 on the Floor after the Miami Heat win 108-97 over the Cleveland Cavaliers. I feel, Alf, like this was a carbon copy of the Detroit game. They played lights out in the first half, ended up accumulating the majority of what ended up this time being 31 assists. Last time it was 34 assists. That's now, back-to-back 30 assist games, which is ridiculous. And then again, sort of as they got towards the end of the third quarter, beginning of the fourth, fell apart and needed big plays from Jimmy Butler to end it. Like, it's the exact same game
but
to
is
me.
It really fell apart? Is it fell apart or got you know,
lazy, bored?
Lazy. Got lazy, bored. Got bored, got, you know, a little. The game was in hand, and they kind of just, you know, they fell asleep a little bit. That's about
right. You never felt like it was going to get away completely, right? Like you never felt like Cleveland was going to make that push.
And also the end of the third quarter, beginning of the fourth, is when you start seeing the injuries. What happens with all these injuries? The guys are kind of tired. I mean, nobody's playing a ton of minutes. I mean, Bam played 40, Jimmy played 39, but it's just it's the fact that like the relief isn't there, the fresh legs off the bench as much. Like it's not something to worry about. I don't think at all. I think if they really needed to, they could have blew this team out by 20. But it's I think it's an effect of only having 9 available guys. Well,
and you mentioned the minutes. Okay, so tonight Bam Adebayo played 40, Jimmy Butler played 39, Kendrick Nunn played 37. 28 from Myers Leonard, 26 from Duncan Robinson, who was the other starter with Justise Winslow out again. Dragic 25, Hero 22, Olynyk 14, Silva 8 off the bench. So, yeah, they played 9 heavy minutes for 3 guys. The big story in this particular game, although it's not going to be what we focus on primarily in this podcast, is Kendrick Nunn is out of his slump, right? He had 20 in the last game. He started to come out of it in the second half against Detroit. And tonight he had 23. He was a plus 21. He was 10 of 16 from the floor, 5 rebounds, 8 assists, 2 steals. Okay. So this is my theory on Kendrick Nunn. Kendrick Nunn is going to eat right now against bad teams. He's going to eat because bad teams, and Cleveland is one of them. They're going to be better someday. I like some of their young players. Bad teams are not sort of mature enough and equipped enough to take things away from him. So I think what we've seen is, he goes out there and he plays against the Lakers, and defensively, they're equipped to take certain things away from him. Yeah. This team in Cleveland is not. Detroit, to a large degree, was not. He broke out of it in the second half. He's going to eat against bad teams. He is simply better than a lot of those guys that are playing on second units or even sort of the fourth or fifth guy on a team that's going to the lottery. He just is. And so I think you're going to see a lot of games from him like this, and I think you're going to also see games against good teams, of Philadelphia, where Josh Richardson tries to lock him up, or Milwaukee, or Chris Middleton's on him. I think you're going to see some of those games against good teams where he struggles. I think that's where he is right now.
Yeah, and it's a rookie thing, right? I mean, he's an older rookie, but he's still a rookie. Tyler Hero is having some of the same problems. One of the things I see with Tyler right now, though, in reference to Nunn, Tyler will identify when he doesn't have it going, and he will give the ball up, and he will try to do other things to help the team out. One of my things that I worry about with Nunn is that if he's not scoring, what does he bring to the table? And that's that's my worry with Nunn right now. I think he's going to figure it out, but for right now, it's a little bit concerning that when he can't score, he's a shooter, he's a scorer. He is going to continue to try to score, and he's going to have some really big, really bad, inefficient games. And it also lends to the fact that he doesn't do a lot of other things to help you out. He's not a plus rebounder. He can defend at times, but is he a 24-second defender an entire possession? Not really. He's not that kind of guy. So when he's not scoring, what does he bring to the table? I feel like Tyler Hero, when he's not scoring, he assists, he rebounds, he defends as well as he can. But Kendrick Nunn tonight was great. When he's scoring, you can keep him on the floor. But when he's inefficient and he has a 2 for 14 kind of game, I don't see where else he adds to the team, and it kind of mitigates his effectiveness.
Well, but I think that's why it's significant that he had the 5 rebounds and the 8 assists tonight. I mean, he led the team in assists. I mean, this is a team with 31 assists, and he led them. And they were not all the most sort of complicated assists, but I mean, he moved the ball tonight, I thought. And I think some of that is he gets a rhythm offensively and he gets comfortable, and then so he does move the ball a little bit better at times. So to me, that was a positive. We're going to go through the first 4 things really quickly here because the number 5 is really what we want to get to tonight. So the number 2 thing I have tonight is Jimmy Butler again worked his way into the game. He was 7 of 11. He was 0 of 2 from 3, but one of the threes looked bad. The other one, he took it. He was doing that thing where he was trying not to shoot it before the buzzer, which Dwayne and LeBron perfected that over the years, and there was too much time, so he shot.
It's really a money move, man. It's a money move.
Well, it is, but Dwayne and LeBron used to talk about it all the time, though.
The trick is you show the effort, like you do a dribble,
right?
An escape dribble. You go behind the back. You do a spin move, like you do everything you can just so that after the buzzer sounds, it really looks like you tried to get the shot off.
Right, and in this case, he did get it off because it ended up counting against him. So he was 7 of 10 other than that, 6 rebounds. But I want to focus on this. The 3 steals and the 2 blocks. I said
think he had more than 3 steals, by the way.
No, it's 3. It's 3 according to the box score.
I'm saying he had some pokeaways that somebody else got the credit for. Mm-hmm. So he had 3 steals, but he caused more than 3 turnovers.
Well, I said this on Twitter tonight, and people got on me a little bit and they started tagging Dwayne Wade as if Dwayne's going to get angry at me. I think that Jimmy has the fastest hands of any guy I've seen in a Heat uniform in terms of defensively. Dwayne was the best at playing the passing lanes. There's nobody better than Dwayne at that. There were other guys like a Rio, a Norris Cole, who obviously had that ability, all right, to be able to take the ball away. I mean, Rio at one time was top 5 in steals in the league. But Jimmy Butler's ability to come out of nowhere, like I literally, if a big puts a ball down, it's gone. Like he is so good. He's so good at stripping the ball, and it always leads to points on the other end. It's amazing. And so that happened again tonight late in the game. Plus he had a block. Plus he had a big pass. Plus he had a big basket. So like this is consistent now. This is what you expect from Jimmy Butler at this stage. The numbers may not look huge. The 14 points, 2 rebounds, 6 assists, but it's everything else that he's doing. And defensively, he's been unbelievable. And we're looking at a situation, again, in Philadelphia. It's going to be so much fun as we build up to this first game. In Philadelphia, where Tobias Harris hasn't made a three since
20 straight misses.
Since my people were crossing the desert. He's not made a three. Okay. It's remarkable. They thought he was going to be the guy who was going to take over that burden from Jimmy Butler.
He's shown it throughout a 10-year career.
Right, exactly.
Tobias Harris has been the go-to guy on so many playoff teams.
Right.
That, yes, you pay him a max contract.
Right, and so that's where they are. And
the most overrated journeyman in the history of the NBA.
Well, he's not a journeyman, but he's
how many teams has he played for, Ethan? He's on like 15.
He's played for a lot of teams, but some of that is Orlando. I don't hold that against him. But yeah, he was traded by Milwaukee right away, and then that was the Redick trade. And then yes, I understand he's been with some teams. I get it. He's a good player. He's not a lead guy, and so I'm looking at some of these Sixers message boards. And they're already like, oh, we miss Jimmy, which kind of anticipated. So, this is where this is at right now. Like, the Heat have a closer, but he doesn't have to close by making jump shots. It's just different. He closes in a bunch of different ways. And again tonight, plus 17, 39 minutes. His minutes are crept up a little bit lately. 14 points, but another win.
Yeah.
There's nothing else to say. It's good. It's good. He's a really good player. All right, let's get to number 3 because I really want to get to number 5 here at some point. Number 3 for me tonight is Tyler Hero, who missed some time, came back in, and looked extremely comfortable. And I think this is similar to the Nunn situation. I think he's going to eat against bad teams. I think that's what happens with rookies. They're just not as well scouted by those teams. Those teams have more things of their own to worry about. And tonight, 4 of 7. This is a really good trend for him. He's scoring a lot of points with very few shots. He's 16 points.
Line, Ethan.
That's the thing. 16 points. 16 points on 7 shots tonight because he had 2 threes and he was 6 of 6 from the line. I mean, if he can get and the Heat didn't get to the line very often tonight, right? What did they get? In fact, he had 6 of their 11 attempts. Okay, that's it. Jimmy didn't have an attempt from the line. But Tyler Hero getting to the line, and he has that kind of herky-jerky style a little bit that is very difficult for the officials to monitor. It's getting him free throw attempts, and that's only going to get better as it goes forward.
Well, listen, the funny thing is Christian Hernandez at I Can Be Your Hero on Twitter pointed out that as well as Tyler's doing, he has been pretty bad in transition. Mm-hmm. And he thrived in transition in college. So that's only going to get better. So as long as he continues to do what he does and continues to get better in transition, his defense, honestly, has been getting better with every single game. If you watch him, listen, I like Nunn, but I've always said Nunn is a better player right now. Tyler has a higher ceiling. If you watch Tyler on defense, he's getting better and better with every game. Nunn is a good he's an active defender, but he is not in position the way that Tyler's in position. And Tyler's in position more and more each game, whereas he's no longer a liability on defense. He's going to get to the point by, I think, the end of the year, starting next year, where he's actually a plus defender. And as long as he keeps doing that, the Heat are going to get out in transition more. And if he goes back to what he was in college, you're going to see a guy that's going from, where is he at, like 14 points a game right now?
Yeah.
16, 17, 18 points a game. And if he can do that this season, that puts him in Rookie of the Year running. Well,
it does, and I think we got to get away from the idea of Nunn or Hero being the Rookie of the Year because neither of them is going to be the Rookie of the Year. I called Jay.
Who's it going to be? R.J. Barrett?
No, it's going to be Morant. I called it before the season because it is because
he's going to put up numbers on a bad team, and you're right.
Right. He's going to put up numbers on a bad team. He's going to do some spectacular things. He's going to make some shots at the end of the games. He's already done that. He has some flash to his game. He's in Memphis, which doesn't help, but it's going to be Morant. When Zion went out, it was clear. He's the number 2 pick. He's in the best position to do it. R.J. Barrett will get some looks because he's in New York, and he's been really good, actually. But it's not going to – and plus, Hero and Nunn are going to split the votes on that. So neither of them is going to be Rookie of the Year. Like, I was upset at myself for not putting the money on Hero when the numbers were so high, but there's no chance. He's not going to be Rookie of the Year. What he is –
candidates.
He's right. What it is they're going to have two guys in the Rising Stars game. Okay.
Yeah.
Which I'm definitely going to go to Chicago now because they're going to have two guys in the Rising Stars game, and we're going to talk about somebody else. They're going to have two All-Stars, I believe. They're going to have two All-Stars this year, but they're going to have two guys in the Rising Stars game, and they're probably going to have. He might be in the 3-point shootout, possibly, but Myers Leonard might be in the 3-point shootout. Actually, if you look at where the numbers are right now, like
he's the number one.
He's the number one guy in
the league.
Right. They're going to have candidates in the 3-point shootout, and if Derrick Jones Jr. ever gets healthy, they're going to have a candidate in the slam dunk. So it's whereas the Heat, I think last year had no one, right? Except Dwayne. Like if they didn't add Dwayne, they had no one. This year they're going to have like 5 or 6 people up there. Anyway, we're going to get to number 4 here before we go to the break. And number 4 here for me is the Silva Olynyk big dynamic. Silva did not have his most effective game tonight. He was minus 14 in 8 minutes. Kelly was minus 10 in 14 minutes. We have to talk about Silva's situation, though, because like he was not supposed to be playing this much at this point. And I don't know what they're going to do, Alf. Like, I mean, unless they have a plan, unless they have a 2-for-1 trade set up, like they're going to have to send him to Sioux Falls. I mean, this thing about him not practicing to save a day, I get it. But ultimately, like, I mean, you just the calendar works against you, right? Like he was not supposed to be playing this much. James Johnson being out, has obviously affected that. I think once JJ comes back completely, and he's been sick now, but I think once he comes back completely, I think they have to send Silva out now. I think they're going to need him later in the season.
I mean, if you need him later in the season, that's a problem because is he going to be able to play in the playoffs? I mean, if you're counting on him down the stretch, like you don't want to count on a guy down the stretch that you can't use in the playoffs.
Well, so they're going to have. They have until what? The trade deadline is first week of February, right? They're going to have to do something.
They have to because they need to create a spot for him because he's earned it. And then, I hear the KCP for Dion Waiters talk. Yeah. I don't think that doesn't even create enough space for Silva. I don't believe
it doesn't.
So the cap machinations are almost impossible.
Well, nothing's impossible for Andy, but I just think that right. But
there are obstacles, but there are no obstacles. The problem is how many of these guys on this team right now are completely expendable?
Well, no one except Dion.
It's Dion, and even James Johnson. I don't care. I've argued with people on Twitter about this all the time. James Johnson is not expendable.
Well, and UD, but I mean, we're not counting that, right? So you're talking
nobody's trading for UD. So.
I know, I understand that, but we're talking about the top 13. You're right. I mean,
well, you want to give up Duncan Robinson right now to open up another spot?
No, it's probably going to have to be Derrick. I think. I think they've learned how to play without Derrick to a certain degree. I understand what Derrick's value was going to be, particularly in zone defenses. But they haven't played that much zone. They don't need to because they've got Jimmy and they'll have Justise back. I mean, Justise didn't play again tonight. And I know this little corner of Heat Twitter, there's like, they're winning big without Justise. They're going to need Justise. Defensive. I think part of the problem they're breaking down in the second half is because of all these minutes other guys are playing, but also because those guys are having to play the best perimeters on the other teams because Justise isn't there to do it.
Yeah. The idea that they don't need Justise is just laughable.
No, it is laughable.
Look at what happened against the Lakers. Like if you're going to tell me that you just don't need another plus wing defender in this league in 2019, 2020, shut up. You don't know anything about basketball.
Even if that's all he is, right? Like, and I think he's a lot more than that, like as a playmaker and everything else. But even if you just think he's a wing defender, you need the wing defender. But when he's back, then again, where is the room? We've talked about this about Waiters, but where's the room for Derrick Jones Jr.? Like, I thought he would be a small ball 4 for them, but okay.
Not with the way Duncan Robinson is playing.
He's playing, right.
Like, I'm sorry. Like, I know people are going to be like, oh, it's Duncan Robinson. And I know that Derrick Jones Jr. can jump really high, and I really like the guy. He offensive rebounds like a madman. But what Duncan Robinson brings you in terms of spacing,
right?
I mean, I'm almost at the point where when Justise comes back, does Duncan Robinson leave the starting lineup? Or does Kendrick Nunn leave the starting lineup?
No, it has to be Robinson who leaves it.
I know that it has to be just because of the way they started the season.
No, it's not just because of how they started the season. It's because so you're going to start. I don't know, because the problem is if you put Nunn on the bench, you've got Nunn, Hero, and Dragic all coming off the bench. That's 3 relatively small guards, right? It's just too much. It's too cluttered. I think they're better off. They're better off bringing Duncan off the bench as a small ball 4. Maybe. But
the same way you said that Nunn can feast on bad teams,
yes,
Nunn can feast on second teams and benches.
Yes, so, because they don't they don't switch out to him. I get it.
And honestly, they'll figure that out as the season goes on. But going back to the Derrick Jones Jr., to me, it's Derrick Jones Jr. or Duncan Robinson, right? And who's more expendable at this point with the way Duncan Robinson is shooting? He's in today's game. He's not a guy that you can just write off.
No, he's not. Well, Derrick Jones Jr., it's all about how young he is and where he's going to get to as a shooter, which can that complement the rest of his game where he's a playable guy for 25 plus minutes. That's been the big question for him. Like, is he he calls himself a knockdown shooter, but we haven't seen it. So, is he able to make 35% of his threes to keep people honest? I'm with you, though. And then there's the James Johnson factor when he comes back. So they just have a lot of bodies. It doesn't seem like it right now, but they do. But the other thing I want to talk about real quick here before we go to the break is Kelly Olynyk. I've said this before. Kelly's really had like 2 or 3 good games the whole year. And tonight was another one that was not great. I know you've said he has to start to get in a rhythm. But what are you going to – Myers Leonard tonight was 5 of 6, 2 of 2 from 3, a plus 20, 12 points, 7 rebounds, and 3 assists. He had another of those great little pocket passes that he throws, down by the basket. I don't think you can put Kelly in the starting lineup.
Oh, no, I don't think he has to start to get in a rhythm. I thought that he had to start eventually for the Heat to take off. But the way that Myers Leonard – and I've been a big Myers Leonard fan ever since I saw him in the preseason, just because I see what he can do for stretching the floor, the fact that he can rebound, the fact that I don't care what you say about his ability to defend the rim, the fact that he's always in the right place. Like, you see a lot of those strips that Jimmy gets on a big are because Myers Leonard is just in the way.
I know.
Right? It's not that he's jumping up, blocking, defending the rim. He's just in the way of somebody in the paint, and they can't get around him, and Jimmy strips him. And a lot of times Myers is stripping guys down in the paint. So he is big. He's in the way. He stretches the floor. His communication defensively, every time down the floor, he's screaming out, telling guys what position to be in. Honestly, I just think he's a starter for the rest of the year, especially because he gives you a reprieve when you're playing another really big guy that you can give Bam a few minutes without having to bang with a Jokic or an Embiid or a guy like that. Let Myers big ass bang with those guys for 3 or 4 minutes in the first quarter, 3 or 4 minutes in the third, right? So the thing with Kelly is he has such a track record on this team of being important and playing big in big games, hitting big shots. I'm not worried about Kelly. I feel like Kelly is just going to do what he has to do. And I know he didn't have a great game, but I with Kelly Olynyk, I just don't worry about him because I've seen him go through stretches with this team where he just doesn't look like a guy that even should be on the floor, but then he comes up big in the big moments, and he's just there for the team when they need him.
Well, you mentioned Bam. We're going to get to him after the break. One thing I do want to mention, though, just about this game before we close it, is this was basically do as much effort as you can to just get by game for the Heat. Because if you look at this, I mentioned it, just 11 free throw attempts and just 4 offensive rebounds. So this was not a high effort game. It didn't need to be. Their passing was good enough in the first half that it didn't prove to be necessary. So let's go to break right after this, but first I want to tell you about another great sponsor of the 5 Reasons Sports Network. It's the Seltzer Mayberg Law Firm. You can find them at onecalllegal.com. That's onecalllegal.com. So check them out there. They handle cases from all over the state. There's someone to handle your case 24 hours a day, and those are all kinds of cases. So personal injury, traffic tickets, they handle all of it at the Seltzer Mayberg Law Firm. Their office is based right there in North Miami. So if you do live down here, real easy to get in there, real comfortable place to be. We share an office with them, so you can come say hello to us as well. So that's the Seltzer Mayberg Law Firm, Seltzer Mayberg, onecalllegal.com. All right, let's close the episode here with someone we haven't really talked about at all, who's the best player on the floor tonight, which is Bam Adebayo. 40 minutes, 7 of 14 from the floor, 2 of 3 from the line, attempted a 3. 16 points, 15 rebounds, all defensive tonight. No offensive rebounds. I mentioned this was not like a high effort game for the Heat. But 5 more assists, 1 block, 1 turnover, 2 fouls, plus 25, best on the team. I put this stat out here yesterday, and it ended up getting 1,200 likes, which was not my intention. Bam Adebayo came into tonight's game with 46 assists. Hassan Whiteside has 8 for the season.
Of course.
Right, and that's actually a high number for Hassan. It was higher than I was anticipating. I don't even want to have that debate anymore. Anybody who's debating the other side of that cannot be reasoned with from a basketball perspective, so go away. Here's the debate that I want to have, Alf. Bam Adebayo is an all-star this year, isn't he? This year, not next year.
He has to be. They put his numbers out there, and I'm not going to pretend to remember who has those numbers, but it's like 5 guys, and the other 4 are like Giannis, Cat, LeBron, and it's ridiculous. What he's doing across the board, filling up stat sheets, is absolutely amazing. And I think and for people that just don't watch the game and just want to look at numbers, and like I said, I don't want to keep invoking Hassan, but Hassan's doing 22 and 11, and if you look at Blazers Twitter, like you were talking about the other message boards, the Sixers message boards, the Blazers message boards are lighting Hassan on fire.
Yeah,
and a lot of Heat Twitter is reveling in it, and honestly, some of it I think is a lot of cheap shots. Like you said, I don't think you meant for a cheap shot. It was mostly just a juxtaposition. And there's a lot of cheap shots at Hassan right now, but it's not just about what the cheap shots. It's about showing you what the numbers really mean, right? Even when Bam is out there and he's giving you 15, 13, but he's also giving you 5, he's giving you 3 blocks, 2 steals, and you watch him on defense and he is just erasing players out of the game, and if you can switch him onto point guards, shooting guards, anybody, he's closing out, he's defending, he's not taking a play off. Like, these are things that usually it takes 2 to 3 years for a guy to get recognized for these things, right? A guy will go through like 2 years playing like this, and then his 3rd year, oh wow, he starts getting the defensive player of the year recognition, all defense first team recognition. Bam is starting to get that recognition right now across the league. If you look at a lot of writers, they're bringing up Bam's name more and more as most improved player because it's so impactful what he's doing.
Well, let me read this to you because this is from our friend Vinny Goodwill. Vinny writes a column for Yahoo weekly, well, more than weekly, but he has this weekly column that kind of wraps some things up. So he divides it into 3 quarters, and his 3rd quarter this time was the X factor in Miami. It says usually around the 10-game mark, scouts and executives start discussing players who are surprising them. In a little while, they'll start figuring out who's available in the trade market. One guy who's caught the eye of a few scouts, Miami's Bam Adebayo. Jimmy Butler's made everything go in Miami, deservedly gets the lion's share of notice. Adebayo has flourished since the departure of Hassan Whiteside because he no longer has to share minutes. Adebayo has quick hands, quicker feet, and plugs in all the holes defensively. He could be a huge key to the Heat jumping into the fray with Philadelphia and Milwaukee for Eastern Conference supremacy in the postseason. Quote, I'm a big fan, a high-ranking executive told Yahoo Sports. He's all about the right stuff on and off the court. He's a warrior, competes, makes shots, and gets the 50-50 balls. Just so much stuff that doesn't show up on a stat sheet. And he understands spacing. He's smart. And then Vinny says he does fill up the stat sheet, though, averaging 9.3 rebounds, nearly 5 assists, while adding nearly 2 blocks and 2 steals per game. This is what we were saying about Bam. That thing about him being smart, understanding spacing, never giving up on a play. He never looks tired. That's the other thing. Like, he played 40 minutes tonight, and it was towards the end of the game that he had that goaltend, which was a chase down block, which he did catch it on the way down. But, I mean, he ran end to end on that thing. I will pose this to you, and then we got to close. How many bigs, top of your head, 30 seconds, are better than Bam Adebayo right now in the Eastern Conference? Bigs.
Cat, Embiid.
Well, Cat's not in the East, so take Cat out.
Sorry.
In the East. Embiid.
Embiid.
Horford.
No, Horford's not as good. I don't think Horford's as good offensively as Bam is.
Boston doesn't have one. Indiana, Sabonis is good. He's not Bam good. He's a different kind. Miles Turner's not as good. That's why I thought Bam should have been on that team.
No.
Okay. Orlando, Vucevic, different kind of player.
Different kind of player. Not it's
Detroit. I mean, looked better than Drummond the other night.
And the problem is, it's because if you're saying offensively, yeah, you probably can pick 2 or 3. You're saying defensively, you maybe pick 1 or 2. But when you talk about all around game, I mean, how many other bigs are defending point guards on the perimeter? And I'm not talking about defending them just because they have to. I'm talking about defending them and being effective at it.
None. None.
Christian Hernandez and I have both pointed this out on Twitter. That switch, when Bam gets put onto a guard, is not an advantage.
No, it's not.
And they have to keep learning this lesson over and over. Just because you got switched onto Bam, don't think you're just going to take him off the dribble. The guy's amazing. And also I think I hate saying his name on the podcast, but Crab Smut Peddler pointed this out. Like right now, the Heat are not as good defending the rim as they were with Hassan Whiteside, right? People don't get to the rim nearly as much as they do now.
Right.
Compared to when Hassan was here.
But that's also, as Mr. Peddler may or not have pointed out, that's also without Justise being out there.
That's without Justise. Imagine when Justise gets back.
Right. So when you're going to put Justise out there with Bam and Butler, I mean, I don't care who else you have out there, which is what we've talked about, which is that you can hide 2 other so-so defenders because you're going to have those 3 guys. And that's why whatever issues Justise and Jimmy have offensively, kind of getting it together, I don't care because nobody's going to score on them down the stretch. But when I look at Bam, I think it depends if you consider Giannis a big or not. I don't know. I mean, to me, Giannis is like his own category. Like he is what he is. I think it's Embiid, and that's it for traditional bigs. That's it. I would rather have Bam than Vucevic because Vucevic can't move his feet defensively. I would prefer. Horford's age gets into this, and I think ultimately, it's possible Bam may be a higher volume scorer down the road than Horford's been. Although Horford defensively is a monster. Yes. But his versatility defensively on a switch. No, it's not. It's not Bam's. It's not
what Bam can do.
Well, Horford may be as good a positional defender as there is for a big in the league, but he's not. Yeah, he's not that, and he's going to be a problem for the Heat. I'm not, no question about that. But I think in terms of what Bam offers you, it's more than what Brook Lopez offers you overall. Even though Brook stretches the floor, it's so this conversation. I mean, again, we've gone from saying is Bam the second most important player on this team? He is. And I think it's almost getting to be a 1A, 1B situation. But let's stop. I'm going to stop having the Whiteside debate. It's just a stupid debate. I mean, Hassan can put up 24 and 15 the rest of the year, and Bam can put up half that. I don't care. What we're seeing with Bam is he is the perfect big for this era, and this is why they would not put him on the table with any teams. The only team I heard he might have been on the table with was the Spurs for Kawhi. That was it. He's not been on the table since for anybody. He's not going to be on the table going forward. They're not trading him. He's a core piece. He's not only a core piece, he's going to be part of whatever their big 3 is. When they add another star or one develops on the roster, Bam's going to be one of those 3. I mean, that's where we're headed with this. And we'll have another podcast later in the week. We're going to try to mix it up a little bit. We're doing a lot of game pods, and we will continue to. We're both going to be at the Cleveland game. The Pelicans game this weekend. No Zion coming in. So another game the Heat should probably win. We're trying to mix it up with some national guests. I want some national guests to come on here and start talking about this team a little bit because I think they're getting noticed, but I want to sort of put it into that context. Thanks for joining us.